Support for Radio Friends comes from Columbia Healthy Smiles, the dental office of husband and wife team, Dr. Batson and Dr. Abe, offering comprehensive and customized care to patients of all ages. Learn more by calling 573-721-9039 or online at www.columbiahealthysmiles.com. Good morning and welcome to Radio Friends on this Wednesday, May 3rd. We have Dr. Chris Link with us from Integrative Medicine in Jefferson City. Good to have you here.
Hey, great to be here, Paul. Thanks so much.
I always enjoy chatting with you because I learn something every time you come.
Do our best.
Today we're going to talk about keys to healthier nutrition. And well, tell me about the recent studies, what they've found.
Some very important recent studies show that both nutrition and exercise significantly lower risk for some of the major diseases that we face as Americans, things like heart disease and cancer and dementia. So independently, eating a colorful whole food diet and exercising independently lowers the risk of all three of those. And terrific studies in journals like the New England Journal, the Journal of the American Medical Association, and also the Journal of the Alzheimer's Association. So they really got our attention over the last 24 months.
You know, we've talked about dietary supplements several times with you. I was reading a story either this morning or yesterday that if people eat properly, dietary supplements are not really necessary. And there's even some discussion is, do they really help? Do all the dietary supplements that we take really help? Are they necessary?
That's a good question. So I think that as we get older, there are certain things that we don't get enough of. It's very hard to absorb enough B12, for example. And B12 is really key for brain health as we get older, and also reducing the risk of neuropathy. And then things like the omega-3 oils, unless you're eating a lot of fish, Paul, you're not going to get enough of those. And those lower inflammation in the body, and they keep the brain sharp. And they actually lower cardiovascular risk. So a few targeted supplements, things like some low-dose vitamin D during the winter, some B vitamins and omega-3, those can really make a difference, and the data tells us it does.
So when you say if you're not eating enough fish, how many times a week should we have fish in our diet?
As many as possible. No. So we know that if you have a couple pieces of cold water fish, salmon, Chilean sea bass, that are high in omega-3s, if you have twice a week, you're going to get a good amount. Now, I think even it's better to have more than that if you're trying to prevent heart disease and help your brain. But a couple times a week, good cold water fish is a great idea.
Eat more whole foods, made in your kitchen. You've got that down.
Yeah. So some of the keys to reducing the risk of those chronic illnesses, right, is to eat well and to keep it simple. Eat whole foods that are, you find them on the outside of the grocery store aisles, the real meat, the real fish, the poultry, the eggs, the vegetables, the berries, the fruits, the nuts, the olive oil. These are key, particularly the green leafy vegetables, the colorful berries, and the olive oil. In many different studies now, they show that they have these amazing polyphenols, these plant phytochemicals that lower inflammation in the body and actually keep our microbiome, our gut bacteria, healthier and happier, and it keeps us healthier. So number one, eat whole foods. The second thing is to eat less processed foods, things that come from the center.
What falls into the processed food category?
Okay, Paul. So, instead of looking at the outside of the grocery store, you're in the center of the grocery store and you're seeing the snacks, the cakes, the cookies, the crackers, the cereals, the things that have too much processed carbohydrates, salt, added sugars, all flavoring.
Now, you mentioned cereals. Now, are you saying cereals are processed foods?
Very much so. Very much so.
Cereals, the whole grain cereals?
Well, the problem is when you take a whole grain and you grind it into powder, you really turn it into a very digestible starch that really drives blood sugar higher. You're much better eating, real food for breakfast. Real eggs, have some meat, maybe have, you could even have a little bit of vegetables for breakfast. I know that's hard to believe, but maybe you saute up some greens.
But what about oatmeal?
So if you get whole oatmeal, that like steel cut oats, that's a pretty good
steel cut oatmeal.
That's not processed. But if you take those oats and you grind them into a fine flour, and you turn them into a Cheerio, that Cheerio or an oat O that will dissolve very quickly in your stomach. And really, starch is just long chains of sugar, glucose, and that drives our blood sugar, makes us gain weight around the middle, increases our risk of metabolic diseases like diabetes and obesity. So it's not a great food in that form. Now, but in the whole form,
okay,
it's
like
much better.
Rolled oats, oatmeal, or steel cut
oats are great. But yes, I love those.
Okay.
So more of the whole colorful foods, less of the processed foods, and then the other key, Paul, is to take your lunch. Because if you're taking, to work and to school, you're taking food from your kitchen to lunch, you're much more likely to feed yourself nutritious food, and you're much less likely to go for something fast that's going to come through your driver's side window, and it's not going to be as good for you. So those are key nutritional factors to keep our brain and body healthy.
Then you talk about the importance of exercise, 6,000 steps a day.
Yeah, that's a pretty good goal. Now, not everybody is able-bodied enough to do that, but 6,000 or more steps a day. Each additional 1,000 steps you get significantly reduces your risk of those 3 chronic illnesses. It's amazing that exercise can lower a risk of heart disease, lower a risk of cancer, and lower a risk of dementia. So move every day, and if you can do it briskly a couple of days a week, getting your heart rate up, that's even better. A second thing is to do some sort of resistance training. Use your muscles, because when we use our muscles with like circuit training at the gym or some push-ups and squats and lunges or maybe a little bit of weights, you turn on your muscles, and muscles and organs in your body then secrete these chemical messengers that tells our body to heal, get stronger, and releases something called the brain-derived neurotrophic factor that's Miracle-Gro for the memory center of the brain, the hippocampus.
Well, you're talking about choosing exercise that engage the brain and the body.
Thanks, Paul. And the third thing is the brain and the body. So things like dancing, things like hiking, where you have to know where each step is going to go so you don't slip and fall.
So you're
things
saying
like racket sports.
hiking when you have to watch every step that you're taking makes a big difference?
It means your body and your brain is engaged, and there's no better way to keep your brain and your body healthy.
Okay. Well, I did not very long ago a 6.5-hour hike that I had to watch every single step.
I bet you slept well that night, Paul.
I did. At one point, I was scared to death, but I guess I was engaging my mind and my body.
You are. There's no question about it. When you do that, we really benefit.
You're going to have a nutrition and exercise strategy for healthier brain and body
Lifelong.
talk.
Yes.
Lifelong.
We're going to do that on May 10th at 7:30. It's going to be a virtual talk. You can go to our website to find out the link for that. And it's for people that are interested in knowing more of the details about how nutrition and exercise can improve our mind and our body lifelong.
And that's free of charge.
It's free of charge.
Okay, so how do they?
If they go to our website, drchrislink.com, there'll be a link to the talk, and they can sign up, and then we'll send them an email when it's time, and we'll actually even send them a recording after it's done. So, and it's going to be, again, at 7:30 on May 10th.
And that'll be live.
It's live.
So you can watch it on the internet, May 10th at 7:30. Go to drchrislink.com for more information on that. And eat healthy and exercise where you have to use your brain to exercise. Chris, thank you so much for coming by. It's always a pleasure to visit with you.
Great pleasure, Paul. Thank you.
All right, if there's something you would like to hear or see, I'd love to hear from you. Drop me an email, pepperp@missouri.edu. And when you go out and about today, keep that smile on your face and watch where you're walking so you exercise your mind too. Bye-bye.